Welcome back to Studio F on Fast Times Willy B. We will be celebrating National Film Score Day by shooting the shit about some film scores. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell!
Welcome back to Fast Times Willy B. I'm Willy B. I've got Kory with me, the real life film score guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that going to appear on my thing right here?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I hope you liked that. But
Thank you.
happy National Film Score Day.
Thank you. This is
Your favorite holiday of the year.
It is my favorite holiday of the year. Yeah.
Just over Halloween.
Yeah, just barely.
Yeah.
Barely. I mean, they kind of coincide sometimes. They kind of intersect.
We might talk about something.
We might talk about something.
But this is the first episode here on Fast Times Willy B where we're just
This
gonna...
is the first episode on Fast Times with Willy B?
No.
Oh my God, I'm
the
excited.
first time where we're just going to go unstructured.
So
Let's just talk about film scores.
Sure, man.
So where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about some of your favorites? Do we want
I
to...
want to talk about my background.
Okay.
My quick story of how I got into this junk.
Okay.
For the most part, when I was a kid, until I was like 16,
Yeah.
I mostly just watched superhero movies. And like,
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah.
Too scared to watch anything else.
Yeah.
Everything else is too boring for me. Whatever. Right?
I can't even imagine a non-horror fan Kory, honestly.
Oh.
With the amount of... Like, we had a John
weird,
Carpenter, like, day once.
Oh
like,
my God, I was
and to
scared
think, like,
shitless.
5 years ago, or a little more than 5 years ago, you wouldn't have done that.
Dude, here's a fun fact. You know Scary Movie 3? The parody funny movie, Scary Movies? I was too scared to watch that movie.
Oof.
Yeah.
So film
It
scores.
was bad. Yeah.
We'll stop outing you on how scared you were of scary movies.
Very scared. Yeah, whenever I was a little kid, there was usually a couple scenes in movies that I just loved to rewatch, or sometimes it was like a loading screen, whatever.
Yeah.
But the earliest one I can think of is the scene in Batman Begins where Bruce opens the dresser that has his bat suit in there. Obviously, I loved themes from like Spider-Man and Batman '89, Hulk, whatever.
Danny Elfman, man.
Yeah. We'll get to him. But I just remember specifically just loving the score whenever he opens it, and it's a real dramatic and whatever. And then years down the line, whatever, there's a couple other ones like the Avengers that whenever Iron Man, blows up the Leviathan and they all gather around. Love that. TMNT 2007, that animated cartoon. I loved the loading screen, which is the same music as when Leonardo jumps into the water and, dives and comes back home. So, like, there were a couple scenes that always, like, I loved just rewatching it just for the music.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, whenever he pulls out his suit again, the red and blue suit. I remember that one choking me up.
Yeah. Great scene.
So, yeah, there were, like, certain things that just stuck with me. And then over time, the first thing that really opened my mind to film scores, and I hate to say it because it's such a fad now, it pisses me off.
Can I guess? Is it 2014?
It is 2014.
Is it Interstellar?
It is Interstellar.
I figured.
The first time I watched Interstellar, it blew my musical mind. And at this point, I started playing music.
Yeah.
So that also, like, it was...
It's one of the most iconic scores.
Absolutely.
Ever.
And it was so iconic that by the time I turned 17, I got a tattoo for that very score right on the side of my... I almost forgot what it was. Just for the score. This isn't even just for the movie. This is for the score specifically.
That's what qualified you for this episode.
Oh, I appreciate it.
You get a film score tattoo.
I had to get a film score tattoo.
I think you're like one of 8 in the world. I'm kidding.
I'm sure there's 9 of us.
There's probably 9 of us.
Yeah, so it just changed everything about me. And then weirdly enough, finding out like, oh, that's the Batman Begins guy. Like, what the fuck? And then, he's the Lion King guy too. Yeah. Whatever. And then come to find out a guy that I grew up with in our church, like, was working for Hans Zimmer at the time.
Oh, that's sweet.
That, like, just came up in conversation with my grandpa a couple months later. And I was like, the music guy, the music for movies guy. Yeah. And everything's just been different since.
So Hans Zimmer is your favorite composer, correct?
I've got a lot of... See, the problem that I have, of course I have to make everything complicated. Look, the short answer is yes. I would love for it... I don't want to say I would love for it not to be, but he's like the popular answer right now.
Yeah.
But what do you want me
I
to
mean,
do?
John Williams is probably my favorite. When you're talking about who's the starter pack
it's John Williams
score.
#1 with a bullet.
And then Hans Zimmer's right there.
Absolutely.
Probably, I mean, Danny Elfman's probably
Danny
in that.
Elfman's up the Ennio
realm.
Morricone is probably up there. Morricone. Everyone says it different.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are all up there, but like the Hans Zimmer synergy. But the thing I was getting to is a lot of composers, the more time I spend in it, they all do obviously they all do things differently, but they also occupy different spaces in film.
Yeah.
Like, Hans Zimmer's my favorite blockbuster guy.
That's fair.
But like if we're going like indie, like I really love Chris Benstead, who he does like all the Guy Ritchie stuff,
Yeah.
Ungentlemanly Warfare, Wrath of Man, the one with Statham and Aubrey Plaza where they're something about a game show. Haven't seen it. The Gentleman. Like he's just been the Guy Ritchie guy. And
Guy Ritchie guy.
or the Guy Ritchie guy. And I've just been, I cannot wait for him to branch out and do some other stuff. Because I love what he does with Guy Ritchie, but like, Guy Ritchie makes a very specific type of movie.
Yes, he does.
So like.
Usually good.
I love Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
I love Guy Ritchie.
We're not complaining when we say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hans Zimmer is definitely one of the greats. John Williams is I've always been obviously a big Spielberg fan, and John Williams is
absolutely
to Spielberg as Zimmer is with Nolan.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you got a Spielberg movie coming out, chances are
it's
gonna be scored by John Williams.
It's fascinating how things have changed, especially with the Zimmer thing. Like again, I love the Hans Zimmer, Chris Nolan. Like every movie they've made together is an absolute hit.
Yeah.
But Hans Zimmer, like kind of in, when was like Dunkirk, 2016, 17? Right around then he jumped ships, started working with Denis Villeneuve, and that's whenever he made Blade Runner 2049. He's made Dune Part 1 and 2 since then. And ever since then, every movie after that, he switched over to using Ludwig Göransson, who's another one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I have to talk about this guy.
Yeah.
Ludwig Göransson, he just won an Oscar for Oppenheimer last year. He's won an Oscar for Black Panther.
Yep.
He's been one of my favorites for years. He was one of my favorites before he was a film composer. Do you know why? I'm sure I've told you, but it's probably been a while.
I don't know why.
Do you know where he's like started to get his popularity in music?
Where? What?
He was Childish Gambino's guitar player.
Was he with Childish Gambino?
Yes.
Yeah.
It
hit me as soon as I said where. Like I was
like literally all of 5, 6 of Donald's main albums, Ludwig's like produced all of them.
Yeah.
And like from the very beginning, back in 2011, he did all the music, like he would tour with Childish Gambino, just be his guitar player.
Yeah.
So now like I watch music videos and stuff, and he just put out one for Lithiona. It's like very funny looking in the back and like it's fucking famous composer just in the background playing guitar.
Yeah.
And he's just a fascinating guy.
That's
like
cool.
From the get-go had Hans Zimmer's blessing for like one of the few people who will go out there and get it. When he made Black Panther, he went to Africa. He embraced himself in the culture, and like he's just a really fascinating guy. And then also like Community. You like Community. He did the score for Community.
Okay.
Did the score for New Girl, like started off like that. And then like I think the first movie I remember him doing was Venom or Black Panther, whichever one came first.
Venom was great.
Yeah. I really like the music.
That's not why we're here.
Yeah.
Continuing with composers, I guess, that I really enjoy. Obviously, we already mentioned Danny Elfman. I mean, those Spider-Man movies were just such a big part of my childhood. Then you throw in 89 Batman, and you just start throwing in, honestly, all of most of Tim Burton's catalog. I mean, most of Tim Burton's movies are very well scored. At least theme.
They at least have a great theme.
Iconic theme.
And the scores never get boring with Burton's films.
No.
Sometimes they just get very weird. But, I mean, he's like one of the main artists in Oingo Boingo, so what do you expect?
Weird science, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's a weird fella, but you got to throw your props to him, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Also shredded for no reason. Look that up.
Theme-wise, like, he is up there in the conversation.
Absolutely.
For some of the most iconic themes.
Absolutely.
Another one, John Carpenter is...
Carpenter's the man. Did you see recently he was on stage with Bong Joon-ho?
Really?
Yeah, and Bong Joon-ho was like, I will only do my next movie if you promise to do the score. And he was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it.
That's awesome.
So, like, that's not anything official, but, like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And Bong Joon-ho's like, yes, Carpenter's going to score my next movie.
For sure. And
I
obviously with Carpenter, I mean, like, Halloween is the obvious one that comes to mind for most people. You and I both F heavy with The Fog.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just, when I'm talking horror themes, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Carpenter is definitely the conversation for me as far as favorite composers go too.
Yeah, completely underrated. Even on those newer Halloween films, however you feel about him and his son Cody Carpenter, all three of those have a bunch of soundtracks on my playlist.
Which I think Cody Carpenter scored Death of a Unicorn.
Did he?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed the score.
Dude, it's phenomenal. Honestly, if you asked me if John Carpenter's a better composer or director, I probably would just rather sit there and die.
Yeah.
Because I can't answer that
question. He's great at both.
I might want to say composer just because that's my thing. I don't know. He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, in everything he does. And also, I just love a director who does their own score. What a weird pocket of, like, people that... What did we just watch recently that had the director...
I told
Ash.
You. Have you seen it yet?
I still haven't seen it.
Dude.
I've been trying to rush out to get...
If
the
we're talking about...
are going away. It's already leaving cinemas.
I was going to say, if we're talking about film scores that are out right now or out in, like, recently, that's up there for me. Like, I know... when I say... If you're a fan of John Carpenter, you'd like Ash. It's no joke. I mean, you got a pretty bare bones, back to the basic sci-fi horror thriller, which is great in itself. But the cinematography and him writing his own score, the score was my favorite part of that movie, coupled with the beautiful cinematography.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to watch because of how good it looks and how good it sounds.
I mean, as somebody who is a fan of good writing in movies, Denis Villeneuve has certainly changed my mind, specifically with Dune Part 1 and 2, because he made a comment about how he's sick of everybody basically trying to draw out dialogue whenever sometimes just a strong image and a great score behind it will do justice. And Dune Part 2, I remember really just... Because he made that comment in preparation for Dune Part 2, and it probably changed my brain chemistry because I was like, this motherfucker's right.
Yeah.
You know, and Dune's... Whatever. That book is nothing but people talking in inner monologues. Yeah. But he's right. Yeah. A strong image and a strong score behind it is... I mean, that's everything to... Like, Nosferatu comes to mind. So, how many times did you catch me Shazamming on my phone?
Oh, dude.
I have at least 6 soundtracks on my phone from that movie.
The reason film score deserves its own holiday like we have today is imagine some movies without it. Imagine Jaws without the... Imagine the Welcome to Jurassic Park without the... Like the whimsical John Williams score. Or Hedwig's theme at Harry Potter. Like,
oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Like, and I know I'm going on a little John Williams tangent with that, but I'm just... Those are like... a lot of movies that most people have seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just imagine them
movies.
If you take that out.
They're different movies.
Yeah.
Fun fact, on my old podcast that I used to have with an old friend of ours, Ben, called Issue 1 Podcast, I had a segment of YouTube videos, which I might be working on one right now just for shits and giggles. Okay. That was called Wrong Scores Where They Don't Belong.
Yeah.
And it was just clips from movies with different music behind it, and it changes everything. Yeah. It's so funny. Like Halloween... I love that movie more than I love myself. If that movie did not have that music, if that movie just didn't have music, that'd probably be the worst movie I've ever seen.
Dude, imagine taking Michael Myers walking towards the house when Laurie's running, or, you know, you got the bing, ding, 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 or Jaws when the sharks come in and you have the donut, and you replace it with, like... Weird Science. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You replace it with Batman 89's Danny Elfman.
Yeah, even if you do the theme to Batman as he's walking across the street.
Different movie.
It's just wrong.
Yeah.
Just wrong.
No, film score, I mean, score is a big part in a movie. If a score sucks, it's going to weigh heavy in the score.
That's what I've noticed.
Like the score of the film, not,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Said the score too many times in that sentence.
Yeah, it made it confusing. I've noticed that my favorite directors, for the most part, I can tell they don't just make a movie and then let the studio go, yeah, just pick a guy who knows how to play music and he can do my score. Like, my favorite composers seem to work with some of my favorite directors seem to work with the same composers.
Yeah.
Like Denis Villeneuve working with Johan Johansson.
Yeah.
Or Chris Nolan with Zimmer and Ludwig Göransson, Jordan Peele with Michael Abels. If we're talking horror scores, my God, Michael Abels is by far my favorite. Colin Stinson is up there, doing Midsommar and The Menu. The Menu is one of my favorites.
That is a great score.
But Michael Abels with that Nope score. Because let me tell you what, that score alone, the range is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, like in the opening crawl, you get like very low cello, just burn, burn. It's like Jaws. Yeah. It has 2 notes in it. Yeah. Chills you to the bone.
That's all you need sometimes, man.
Sometimes it's all you need. 2 notes. The Joker's theme from Dark Knight, 2 notes, D and C. Yeah. So you get that, and then later on you get just like country western cowboy score, and then sometimes you get emotional drama between 2 siblings kind of score, like in one fucking movie.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane. Remixing "I Got 5 on It" from Us.
Yeah,
that's an icon. Like, to me, that's that movie's gonna age so well. Oh, absolutely. You mean the snapping scene, or like the okay? I was gonna say, because mine's probably the end battle between Red and Adelaide because of that score. We're sticking with
Jordan Peele, Get Out. I think the Run Rabbit scene is incredible. And I know that's not a film score. I know that's, but
kind of scares the shit out of me
at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rabbit, run. Yeah, it's like
creepy. It's creepy.
It's great.
And then it transitions into Redbone.
Yeah. Michael Giacchino popped in my head while you were talking about that, because you said Michael something.
Michael Abels.
Yeah. And I just started thinking the Batman, and then I was a huge fan of the If score.
Yeah.
And I know that if we're talking about underrated, I think the If score is not talked about enough. I know it's a family film.
Understood.
It didn't do great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I love Giacchino's score.
I love that you brought it to me. I love Giacchino so much. Doing Rogue One, doing The Incredibles. My God.
Yeah.
Think about that theme. It's almost James Bondian.
It is.
In the 60s superhero James Bond theme. That's an amazing take.
Yeah.
Like, and then you take Werewolf by Night, my favorite MCU project, and you
directed and scored that.
He directed and scored that.
Gotta love when
director composer, man.
Gotta love when a guy does that.
Gotta
right?
love. I literally, the whole reason I went out of my way to watch Werewolf by Night the night it dropped was because I found out Michael Giacchino was the composer. I'm like, what the hell can that look like?
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah. And the Batman.
And then the Batman. I mean, okay, Planet of the Apes, also great. Matt Reeves works with Giacchino.
Yeah,
very well.
Good partnership there.
But the Batman,
dude. The other night, so we're finishing the basement, obviously, and I'm in the cubbies spray painting. This was the night after you helped me paint, so this was Friday night. And I'm in the cubbies, and I come out, and I have like the black around my eyes, and we're sitting by the fire. And then he goes, "Dude, you look like Robert Pattinson's the Batman right now." Like, obviously, not he's talking about the face. Obviously, I don't look like Robert Pattinson.
I wish I was there. Yeah.
But I immediately just opened my phone and started playing the main theme.
I am upset that I missed that.
It was
love
incredible.
That. If we're talking scenes,
just sitting by the fire with the eye black and playing that, dude.
In the dark. Man.
Yeah.
If we're talking scenes that changed my brain chemistry, we are, because this is my podcast.
Past Times with Kory King.
Past Times with Kory King. The opening, not the very, very opening to the Batman, but the opening monologue from Bruce Wayne in the Batman, setting a tone, the lights, color, cinematography.
Dude.
Greg Fraser, shout out for no reason other than just extreme love.
There's a lot of scenes in that movie where the score is just memorable. It's such a good score.
It's such a good score. There are a few scenes, like, for one, whenever he walks into the funeral, whenever he makes his entrance, I listen to that, even though that score isn't available on streaming or anything like that. Really? And the same with whenever he does the upside down walk, that is also not anywhere on those. But just those versions of the theme just hit different. Yeah. And mixing something in the way, using the same key and the same notes as that, but also the Imperial March, which Michael Giacchino is a huge fan of Star Wars, and remixing that into a Batman theme. But dude, that opening monologue, it's not only just the theme that's amazing, and just like the low electric dark cello in the background, but it's also the fact that you have these violins that are going, and it sounds like what you would hear if you're watching a cartoon and you see bad guys robbing a bank or whatever, and then just having Batman's theme over swallow it. Like, can't fight City Hall, Oween. He likes to do little joke puns with his scores. It just changed my brain
Halloween
chemistry.
Movie. We were talking about how we were going to talk about Halloween movies.
Phenomenal Halloween movie. Oh, absolutely.
People know I took that in the Halloween draft, and I got a comment. Somebody was like, "That is a big brain pick." Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's a Halloween movie.
Hurts me to my core.
But no, that score is so good. You know, keeping in the realm of DC, I love the Joker score as well.
Oh my God, Hildur Nuda Dator. It's the best I can do.
I wasn't gonna try, so I'm glad you did.
Thank you. Also changed my brain chemistry. I obsessed over that score. Yeah. Obsessed over it. Call me Joker. That specific, just the finality of it is just it gave me goosebumps until Joker Part 2.
Yeah. We had to bear witness together to that one.
Which is only a shame. My biggest cardinal sin in Joker 2, Follow You Do, is that with all the musical crap in there that wasn't good musical stuff, you're leaving the score on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
And that rhymed, so you know it's for real.
That was legendary.
Thank you. Hurt me to my core, man. I love Hildur Nuda Dator.
Yeah.
God, that rhyming is insane.
Yeah, Joker 2 is a little bit of a letdown, but those are two. I mean, those two DC themes are incredible.
Absolutely.
I mean, we already touched a little bit on Marvel. If we're sticking with comic books for a second, obviously Danny Elfman's Spider-Man scores are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
They're scores I visit pretty frequently.
Yes. John Powell and John Ottman for the X-Men.
Yeah.
Like those movies all across the board. I love that. And then Zimmer getting to dip his toe in Dark Phoenix. If we're talking underrated score, dude, specifically in the superhero genre, that would be my pick.
Okay.
Dark Phoenix has a friggin' ridiculous score for
Probably
no
just
reason.
Overlooked by the film.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which I can't blame anybody.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
I mean, obviously the Avengers theme and
Alan Silvestri.
Yeah, incredible.
He's got Back to the Future. Some of your favorites, Titanic.
No Way Home. When we go to Doctor Strange, when we go to the Sanctum Sanctorum, that score right there when we go for the first time, it's like it feels like out of like a almost a video game from like the 2000s, where it's like that that
pixelated,
that wizardy.
To me, it felt like I was playing like some sort of Halloween specific Cartoon Network game, like on the Cartoon Network website or whatever. And
that's Giacchino, isn't it?
Giacchino.
Yeah,
yes,
I was going to say, Giacchino is No Way Home.
The Spider-Man theme. I mean, I think he did a great remix on those. Henry Jackman never gets brought up for some reason. He did at least Alan Silvestri did Captain America 1. Henry Jackman did, Civil War and, Winter Soldier. I can't believe I forgot the name of that movie. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Brave New World. Like, he's very heavily ingrained in there. One of my favorites, too.
Yeah.
Great composer. 21 Bridges is a pretty good movie with a phenomenal score.
Yeah.
I love that. Marvel's definitely got a lot of... And Danny Elfman for Hulk. If we're talking my most underrated theme for any movie, superhero, non-superhero, don't give a shit. Hulk.
Yeah.
Hulk's theme,
Dude, mine might be If. Like, I just feel like it's not talked about.
I love that you love it. I genuinely do.
What's an overrated score for you?
An overrated score?
Like, what's a score that gets commonly glazed that you would say is it's good or okay?
That it doesn't deserve it. I would say, you know what,
I thought this was gonna be quick.
I mean, there's a couple that sometimes I like.
I thought you felt a certain way about a horror movie from 1980.
What were you thinking?
About the score?
What movie?
The Shining.
Oh, I mean, I don't love that score.
Okay.
I think it's good enough.
I do love it.
Nothing past there. You know what? For me, people might hate me for this. I do not love the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I think Howard Shore is phenomenal. I think he's great, one of the best. I don't care for... Oh, you know what else would be on there? The Amazing Spider-Man 1. I love James Horner. I think he's amazing. I fucking hate the Amazing Spider-Man theme. Okay. I like a lot of Zimmer's work on Amazing Spider-Man 2. Still not my preferred Spider-Man shit at all.
That's fair.
So yeah, I would say probably those would go in there. Yeah. Okay.
What's your top 3 favorite scores?
Interstellar would have to be number 1.
I figured.
Just because that's my, how so many directors are like, Star Wars got me into movies, and Interstellar got me into film scores.
Yeah.
I hate to do it, but I'd probably have to say Dune. I'd have to say Dune. I'm just gonna count part 1 and part 2 together because some of the scores overlap or whatever. Fuck you, Oscars. But I'm just gonna count both those together. My favorite song in the world, piece of music, whatever, is from Dune Part 1, Holy War. The scene that plays in the Holy War scene. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. And then my third pick would probably might be kind of an out of left field pick. And this would also be my most underrated score. Probably Devontae Hines for Queen and Slim.
Okay.
Phenomenal score. It didn't even get any Oscar buzz. Like, it didn't even get nominated. No one talks about it. I do not understand.
Yeah. If I'm gonna pick mine, one, I'm going Back to the Future, man.
Yeah.
There's just something. I mean, it's my favorite movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a charm to it. It just fits the idea of that movie so well too.
Mm-hmm.
2, I'm gonna go with Bill Conti's Rocky, man.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Obviously, throughout the Rocky franchise, you get a lot of great, commercialized tunes as well.
Yeah, Bill Conti's great.
But his score in that movie isn't talked about enough because everybody talks about No Easy Way Out. Everybody talks about Eye of the Tiger.
The soundtrack stuff. No one talks about the themes.
Yeah, man. Warfare. It's not Fanfare. I think it's Warfare. Mm-hmm. From Rocky 4, dude.
Mm-hmm.
When that plays, I want to run through a brick wall.
Yeah. You just want to go fight. You just want to go fist fight a Russian.
Dude,
I'm just kidding.
It's so good. And if I'm gonna go a third one, I feel like I gotta go a little modern. I feel like it's a cop-out pick, but I'm going to go Elfman's Spider-Man.
Yeah, sure. No, that's okay.
It's just...
That's okay. One of my favorite scores is probably...
That means a lot to me,
You know what? Funnily enough, my favorite score from all 3 of those Spider-Man movies probably is Spider-Man 3.
Really?
And Elfman didn't even do it.
No?
Elfman didn't do it. That was Christopher Drake, I believe.
Okay.
And then Elfman came back later on through the day and helped finish the score.
Yeah.
But him and Sam Raimi had like a falling out. So for a minute, they weren't working together, but then came in. I think that Spider-Man 3, I mean, all 3, let's just talk about all 3 of them on a whole. Yeah. Obviously, I love the farewell score, Uncle Ben's grave, and whatever. The final confrontation with Goblin is amazing.
The opening credits with that main theme, too.
The opening credits, I can't believe I didn't mention that
with
first.
The webs,
my god, one of my favorite moments
gets me buckled. I'm buckled up, man. I get it. Let's go.
other than Hulk, Spider-Man 1 probably has my favorite opening, even over Batman 89.
Yeah,
and that's fucking insane.
Yeah,
but if we're talking like opening credits, crawl, the shit they don't do anymore.
Unfortunately,
I do miss those too.
I do.
It's the scene. I mean, the blueprints out there, with the Spider-Man, and he. That hacks at you and the camera flies back and you get the... That's amazing. Spider-Man 2 also has a bunch of great, like Armageddon, the train fight scene, the score is amazing. I forgot to mention this in Spider-Man 1, the parade scene where he, takes off the Spider-Man suit is amazing. And then, Spider-Man 2, like I said, I used to love... Like I said, how I said I loved rewatching moments when I was a kid from superhero movies because they had good music. The scene where Peter jumps out of the pile of rubble and he's getting ready to fight Doc Ock, but he's missing or whatever after he takes MJ. Used to love. I replayed that scene all the time. I used to reenact that for my family when I was a kid.
I need a video of that if there is one.
Definitely not. They didn't know how to work cameras. They're like 60. And then Spider-Man 3, the black suit theme is obviously amazing. Sandman's theme is amazing.
The little interjections.
It's so fucking good. And then whenever Peter pulls out the suit and he puts on the red and blue again, and whenever he swings around the flag and like that. All that stuff is so amazing.
Yeah.
If we're talking superhero scores, we skipped over a huge one, especially one for you, John Williams, Superman.
Yeah.
The Superman score is amazing. It's
Yeah.
so good
The
that James
78 one,
Gunn is essentially recycling it and modernizing it for
Good.
his film. As he should.
Yeah.
As he should. Phenomenal fucking score.
I mean, it's John Williams. He's the man.
And people always like...
Speaking of John Williams, we got to get tickets to Harry Potter concert.
Yeah, I know. We will. You know, and everyone loves the Superman theme and whatever. But my favorite soundtrack from Superman it's called Super Dam / Finding Lois. It's whenever Lois is, spoiler alert, dead in the car and you know she's filled with dirt and whatever. You get this just the softest, most beautiful piece of music you ever heard. And it's Lois's theme, but you know, an octave or two higher. And it's just so beautiful. Then Superman goes ape shit and gets mad and flies in the sky. It's great.
I'll never forget my first watch of that movie.
When I should have been there.
In theaters, I'm ordering things. I'm like, Kory, we going? And you're like, I can't, man. I'm like, the theater's empty. I'll just go by myself. And I get there, packed house, little kid on my right, old lady on my left, and I'm sitting here like, it's good.
Yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, there's just so many another composer that I love is Keegan DeWitt. He doesn't ever get to do like huge movies, but like some of my favorite, like Little Fish is one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't even know if I've mentioned it on this podcast, but God, if you haven't seen it, go see it. Written by the same guys co-writing the Batman, Matz and Tomlin. Amazing, based on a book. The score of that is so beautiful and haunting. You know, and he did like all the Bright Places on Netflix and a bunch of other stuff. There's so many great scores out there. And I cannot move any further without talking about my favorite, not my favorite score, but my favorite piece of music. Yeah. That being the Holy War scene in Dune. Yeah. Brother, if we're talking brain chemistry changing, I don't know how many times I've said this sentence, but scenes that changed my brain chemistry. So when I was here, I was sitting for your dogs while you and Rosie were on vacation. Mm-hmm. You can cut this out if you need to, but I potentially had taken a gummy that made me feel different. Okay. And I rewatched Dune for the first time.
Dude, those melatonin gummies are no joke.
Yeah, melatonin gummies are nuts. Never again. I rewatched Dune Part 1 in your house because I was like, Dune Part 2 is going to be coming out in a couple months. It got delayed by a while. Yeah. And I rewatched it in October, and oh my God, just that piece of music is haunting. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful in a way because I saw someone say this in the comments, and it's the perfect way to describe it. It sounds beautiful in the way that it's like Moses is taking people to the Holy Land, and it's like very sandy Arabic, you know, and you get this beautiful shot of Chani just walking in slow-mo. Yeah. And then over her shoulder it goes from like beautiful, you know, almost like the Virgin Mary or the Mary Magdalene or whatever, you know, holy figure, and it cuts down to a bunch of Fremen popping out of the sand, fighting and whatever. And the score just intensifies, and then it demasks and you see that it's Paul. And it just cuts to the darkest piece of music I can think of. Yeah. And not dark in a way like this is horror. Dark in a way that's like, oh, fuck no. Like, this is bad news. And it's just a continuous compilation of, you know, visions of the future and what's to come and whatever. And it's the sense of foreboding I get gives me fucking chills. Yeah. It's my number one listen to song on Spotify. Yeah. I look like a psycho listening to this shit rolling down the street, but it's just, it's such a beautiful piece of music as people are screaming at this dark messiah that they'll do anything for him with knives covered in blood. And it's just haunting music. And it's, if I could ask Hans Zimmer about that score for an hour and a half, I would.
He got so excited about it, he ripped our mantle off the wall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did do that. Yeah, I didn't rip it off. It just fell down when I, like, shouldn't have fucked with it. Anyway.
The score is so good.
It's
Rips the mantle off the wall.
You know what?
Crap.
Maybe that's the real version of what happened.
Calls Will.
This score's so fucking good.
So your mantle fell off the wall.
Oh yeah, you were preprepared for the worst.
It'd be like a cut scene. It's showing you ripping off the wall
to that score too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to talk horror themes for a little bit?
Let's talk some horror themes, man.
Gremlins Rag, one of the best.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Dude, I know how you feel about that movie, but that
I do like that movie. Dude, I promise.
That theme though, that main theme, the bam 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 bam. Yeah. Oh.
I like how it interweaves with like Christmassy music at times.
Dude,
it's fascinating.
It's one of my favorites. Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs is great. That's a foreboding score.
Another great
100%.
Main, score great in general, but that theme is top notch.
Yeah.
Soundtrack, you also get Tom Petty in there.
Absolutely. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
But
great soundtracks.
I mean, obviously Halloween. Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, dude.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, what a theme.
Yeah, I'll never forget sending you a text. The opening to that movie, dude. Just the opening credit, because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I was just like, whatever this is, I'm just gonna be okay with it. I'm on a work trip, and as soon as it clicks in that beep 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 beep, and you get that boom, 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 I immediately texted you. I was like, this is about to fucking rock, isn't it?
Yeah, dude.
Dude, it's an amazing piece of music
for sure. Obviously the Halloween score and theme is iconic. I love Laurie's theme.
Yeah, I know you love Laurie's theme.
I love the Myers house. Those are probably my two favorites over the main theme.
Absolutely.
Not saying I still love that main theme, but
classic horror's got a lot of. I mean, the Friday the 13th theme is iconic. Freddy Krueger's theme, though,
dude.
No, that was Superman again. Sorry, that's not what I meant.
No, I know.
I didn't go high enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, it
has like the beanie, beanie, like going in the background, and like you hear like the warehouse noises too.
Oh, chills you to the bone, dude. Chills you to the bone. A lot of great ones.
And you got the 1, 2.
All that stuff.
Whenever those kids are jumping up, I'm like, I'd get a hose and start spraying.
It's creepy. Some of them, like, their shirts are ripped and bloody.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ones with, and especially
in Fog we already mentioned.
In recent years, like, dude, Talk to Me had a good score.
Did
Evil Dead Rise had a good score. Like Nosferatu, if you want to count that as horror, I kind of would.
Ash,
great score. Ash, a movie I need to see. Yeah, absolutely. You know what's funny though is I fucking hate horror themes. Like, not horror themes. Like any scores to do with horror for the most part in the early 2000s are fucking absolute butt cheeks. And it's because that's when we entered the punk rock, hard metal versions of like horror stuff. And I do not give a fuck for any of that.
No. If we're keeping it modern, dude, Sinister. We were talking about it too.
Sinister does
have
a good one.
What is the name of the one we were like really trying to figure out? It's like the...
You mean the song? The theme song?
Yeah. Not the theme, but like it's one of the songs in the score. It's what plays over the credits.
Yeah, it's just... The noises are so creepy.
But Sinister in general has a great score.
Yeah, I would agree.
One of my favorite modern horror movies.
A lot of horror movies have to have great scores because if you don't have a good score, it falls apart.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm probably going to get shit on this. But, like, The Exorcist Believer, I think, has a phenomenal score. Like, no one talked about it. I mean, it may not be a great movie, but the music was so good.
I get the hate on the writing of Believer, but, dude, that movie had a good score and was shot very well.
Yes, it was.
That's the thing with David Gordon Green. David Gordon Green has, like, some of the most controversial horror film remakes, but they're always beautifully shot. I love his eyes.
They're always interesting to me at the very least.
I like his direction for the most part. He just needs to get himself a good writer.
Yeah. Specifically for talking horror themes, my favorite horror theme horror score of all time might actually be Halloween Ends.
Okay.
Dude, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Kory Cunningham's the fall kind of score, not the season, but as in like the fall of man kind of thing.
Yeah.
He has this dark theme. It comes in a score called Corey and Michael. There's one called Evil Eyes, Transformation. His theme is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Not talked enough about.
For sure. I'm trying to think more back to some throwback ones too. I mean, obviously we already mentioned Jaws. Yes, aquatic horror. I don't care what people say; it's a horror film.
Yeah.
That movie made people scared to swim.
That's great. Yeah. It's horror. It's horror for
sure.
Suspiria has a great score.
Dude, Goblin in general. Goblin's a great composer.
Yeah.
They did Tenebrae as well, which is one I told you to check out. Tenebrae is not my favorite movies by any means, but I love that score.
Halfway through Tenebrae, was loving the score. DVD was skipping, not my fault, but the music was great.
Yeah, it was. Goblin's very good at what they do, but Suspiria is
That's a phenomenal score.
Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells.
Yep.
I mean, we mentioned Believer, but like go back to '73. I have it up there. We had to shout it out, obviously, but
if we're talking horror themes, that's
Tubular Bells
probably number 2 for me, honestly, right behind Halloween.
Dude, it's
for some people it's a number 1, and I understand, and that's fine. Yeah, 100%. I also love. We're going back to Carpenter a little bit here, but like I love the Christine score. I think Christine.
Most of Carpenter's scores.
That's true. In the Mouth of Madness had great moments in it. Yeah, for sure. The Thing has a great score to it. Yep. The horror's just. Again, I mean, a lot of times you're sitting with just whatever camera movement you have can be very, very slow. If you don't have a good piece of music behind it, shit out of luck. So a good composer for horror can make or break horror. For sure.
Not horror, but something we watched recently, Close Encounter of the Third Kind had a great score.
That had a phenomenal score. And I was like, who did that? Oh, why did I even fucking look this up? John Williams.
The Godfather 2, if we're mentioning great scores, movies that I've watched recently.
Great score. You know what? Scarface has an underrated score. Yeah. If we're talking like 80s Miami Vice, dude.
The tough part, trying to come up with some 80s stuff, is a lot of those horror films I loved in the 80s also use a lot. Like The Lost Boys.
They blend together a lot.
Has mostly commercialized
soundtracks. Music. I couldn't even tell you anything about the fucking score.
Yeah.
It does make it hard. Yes, you're right.
But great soundtrack.
Great
But it's not National Film Soundtrack Day.
For sure.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think. I feel like we're missing a big... I mean, obviously we talked about The Shining, and I feel a little more
strongly
about that one. Yeah, than you do. But
it still gives me a great feeling, because when I hear that music, like I think of a great movie. Yeah. It just doesn't particularly affect... Oh my God, if we're talking Kubrick, 2001: A Space Oddity is fucking amazing.
Space Odyssey. You mixed David Bowie's song.
I accidentally said Oddity. Thank you. A Space Odyssey. And then, but my favorite of Kubrick's scores, by a landmine, is A Clockwork Orange, dude.
Dude, Clockwork Orange does have a great score.
Oh my God. That theme at the very
least. Yeah. Oh,
gosh. It's phenomenal.
The Omen had a pretty good score, too.
The Omen is a movie I haven't seen, but I heard it's good.
It's very good.
I heard it has good music.
It's very good.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to kind of put Jurassic Park in there, obviously we talked about it a little bit. Jurassic Park has some great horror.
John Williams, you could go on a tangent about Indiana Jones, Harry Potter, we mentioned. Absolutely. Star Wars.
Indiana Jones, I can't believe I forgot about that. Indiana Jones is great. Yeah. Star Wars, even still to this day, he's still making bangers off Star Wars.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, dude, if you don't feel your destiny calling to you when you hear the Twin Suns music, the Binary Sunset, something's wrong with you, man. Dude, sometimes I listen to that score, no bullshit, I think about just finding somewhere really high up and just standing and just looking out and listening to it, because it just,
Yeah. I'm going to jump back to modern real quick, not horror. I really like the Poor Things score that we got.
I was hoping you'd bring up Poor Things. Poor Things had a phenomenal score. Yeah. And it had very Victorian era instruments, but it did fascinating, sometimes you had party scenes where everything's kind of upbeat and whatever. But dude, especially I love the transitions where you get the black and white, her jumping on a big inflatable thing or whatever the fuck was happening. I loved every aesthetically. Very classical instruments, but just very otherworldly. I really love. I loved the score from Poor Things
for sure.
I know I hate how much I love a lot of superhero soundtracks, but for some reason those ones just have it.
Yeah.
These Spider-Verse soundtracks are fucking unmatched, dude. Yeah. Daniel Pemberton, someone who was never on my radar, never heard of, didn't know shit about. Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Brain chemistry.
Changed.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Face melting.
Brain chemistry altered. Dude, what a score. Blending comic book, whatever, with like this Destiny theme mixed in with like hip hop and crazy sound effects. Sometimes you get the Prowler theme where it's, brrr, like real electronic. And sometimes you get Spider-Ham and it's like, little twisty, like, brrr, like old comedy sound effects.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the drums and Across the Spider-Verse giving Gwen her stage is amazing.
Yeah.
Someone I have to bring up right now because I almost didn't bring them up. Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross. Obviously, 9 Inch Nails is there. Working with Fincher. Obviously, everyone loves The Social Network. My favorite score from that duo, by far. Can't wait for Tron Ares. They're doing that. I cannot
Social Network does have a great score.
But, dude, Gone Girl.
Yeah.
One of the most underrated scores of all time.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Mutant Mayhem, too. That's a fun one.
So many good scores, man.
There's so many more, and I feel bad for not. Obviously, I can't bring them up.
Almanac of scores.
And also, some of my favorite composers are the ones that just make weird shit that make me feel weird.
Yeah.
Like Holy War. The beginning of that music sounds like a fucking dream, and it makes me feel weird, and I love that.
Yeah.
If we're talking scores that make me feel weird, Clint Mansell. I know Mo's a big fan of this. Requiem for a Dream.
Okay.
Altered my brain chemistry. Every piece of music altered my brain chemistry in film.
Corey's had 25 different brains in his life.
Dude, I am a compilation of these people, basically. Like, specifically with, there is a dream sequence that happens whenever Jared Leto is tripping on some drugs. And
melatonin.
There's some melatonin, and he sees Jennifer Connelly just standing at the end of a pier, and it's like very high exposure, whitewash, and the music. I genuinely don't know what to say to describe it. You just are gonna have to listen to the soundtrack called Dreams. Yeah. It's fucking creepy and weird, but it's so good.
So good. So good.
So good. You got it. You.
What else? What else do we want to talk about in National Film Score Day?
I want to talk about John Murphy.
All right.
And not just because he's about to do Superman with James Gunn. I'm specifically going to talk about Sunshine. Obviously, very popular score, Adagio in D minor.
Yeah.
It gets reused all the time. It got reused in Kick-Ass. Have you seen Kick-Ass? Mm-hmm. The scene with the kryptonite scene where Big Daddy burns up or whatever. They reused the scene there.
Okay.
Wonder Woman 1984. For some reason, Hans Zimmer recycled that score in that. Phenomenal scene. I think John Murphy is amazing. His 28 Years Later score is obviously amazing. Dude, he's so good.
That 28 Years Later trailer.
Did I say years? I meant 28 days later.
No, you said days.
Did I? Okay,
I was
good
say
stuff.
28 Years trailer is just, it looks so good.
Just bangs, dude.
Looks so good.
So there's a lot of great fellas in there. Oh my God, I'm going to skip over Marco Beltrami. One of my favorite. He did the score for Scream, which I didn't find out until last time we watched Scream because I Shazammed a couple songs. I was like, God, he was fucking Marco Beltrami. World War Z is an amazing score. My favorite Beltrami score is probably A Quiet Place Part 2, but it
Great
still...
score.
But Logan is so good.
Logan is so good.
His score from Logan is so good. He did the Hellboy theme. I love Hellboy.
Yeah.
I love that. I love his theme. There was actually a piece of music that was stuck in my head for years, and I couldn't figure out what it was from, and it was a Marco Beltrami piece from Hellboy. Yeah. It was a funeral scene. So there's a lot of guys in there that I just, my beating heart bleeds for these people. I have to bring up, there's just a couple that I'll just feel like shit if I don't bring them up. Lorne Balfe, amazing. He did, like, Gran Turismo was not anything that was on my radar. Phenomenal score for no reason. Black Adam, iffy movie, ridiculously good score all the time. Lorne Balfe always shows up. Video games, he's great. The Assassin's Creed games, I love his score in those games, especially Assassin's Creed 3. Like Henry Gregson Williams and Rupert Gregson Williams, brothers, composers, very famous. Not even going to try to figure out which one did which because it gets pretty fucking confusing. But like I'm just going to name their movies together and you're just going to have to sort it out yourself. But like Aquaman, that was one of my first like favorite like musical albums I listened to top to bottom. No one talks about it.
Yeah.
I know that one's Rupert Gregson-Williams.
Okay.
Amazing. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Bad movie. Good score. Henry Gregson-Williams, I think. Gladiator Part 2.
Yeah.
That was done by Henry Gregson-Williams. I'm pretty fucking sure. Hans Zimmer obviously did Gladiator, the first one. Amazing.
Yeah.
That like there's so many.
We forgot a horror one.
Who would forget?
Psycho, dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a phenomenal score.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, fun fact, in film school, I actually wrote an essay on that score. Yeah. Well, on that movie in particular, but I gave a chunk of that to the score. And that was like my final project.
Do have to give one more shout out. So I mentioned Gremlins Rag.
Yeah.
Jerry Goldsmith.
Yes, absolutely.
Rudy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good score.
Fantastic score.
That's a good score.
It's also Goldsmith.
Yep.
So another great composer there. Mm-hmm. I love Rudy. That score is just one of those scores too. It's so inspirational, like the dun 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 dun. Like
yeah.
Every time I watch that movie, that score makes me want to like go walk on a Notre Dame football team if I could.
Dude, I don't blame you. I don't blame you even in the slightest. I don't blame you even in the slightest. Vince Vaughn, the man.
Vince Vaughn.
No, Vince Vaughn. And there's a lot of TV guys that like don't get brought up enough. Raymond Jawani. He's done the score for like Iron Man and Eternals are like the only two movies I can think of he did. But he does a lot of my favorite TV show things. Mm-hmm. Like Westworld, he did the score. Game of Thrones, House of the Dragons. Like specifically Westworld is my favorite that he's done. But like Raymond Jawadi is amazing. I said Jawadi. And like even whenever I was a kid, like Batman the Animated Series, Shirley, can't think of her last name. I'm so sorry. She directly took Elfman's score, made it her own, did some changes, but still kept it, the synergy there. Yeah. It's phenomenal. She also worked on the entire DCAU, so like the Justice League Unlimited, like Batman Beyond. Dude, Batman Beyond, dude, what a theme, what a score. Amazing. Like there's just a lot. And it's really upsetting to try to think of it all. Yeah. Because usually whenever it's so hard to learn a composer's name.
Oh, for sure.
But sometimes, so for me, it's like remembering the movies. It's a task to learn
directors' names, but that's a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, speaking of Woman in the Yard, great score. Lorne Balfe. Forgot to bring that up. It's the most recent thing that I watched. Yeah. So like some of these I can't even think. Like Night Swim, cannot remember who the composer was. Terrible movie. Great score though. Yeah. I have at least 3 soundtracks from that. I can't think of his name, but like Infinity Pool. For no reason, I love that score. Yeah. Like I remember you one time walking in on me listening to my favorite soundtrack from that movie. Do you remember what it was? And you're like, "What the fuck are you listening to this for?" Yeah. Do you remember what it was called?
No.
Orgy.
Oh.
Yeah. It's because the music in that scene is great.
Yeah, that's fair.
What a movie. There's a lot of like the Guardians, Guardians of the Galaxy, they have great scores. Yeah. The third one's done by John Murphy, the first 2 by Tyler Bates. Tyler Bates is amazing. He did the Punisher soundtrack. That soundtrack is amazing. Yeah. For no reason, that soundtrack is amazing. Yeah. I'm gonna go all day. But I want to bring it back a little bit to someone that I've already talked too much about. Hans Zimmer for just a moment. Yeah. The Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah. Change my brain covers.
I was waiting for it.
Obviously he gets a lot of praise for The Dark Knight specifically. Yeah. My favorite score in that trilogy is probably from Batman Begins. Okay. And some of those kind of get lost in the dust. And they come back and, they get teased and hinted at in different parts of different pieces of music, but Batman Begins is the most comic booky, so I think that one just has always resonated with me. But The Dark Knight Rises is an incredibly underrated like film score in general. Like Bane's theme alone, like I remember watching that movie the first time being like, whoa, this is just a plane flying through it. What's this music about? And it's Bane. And even though it's a 5'4" Tom Hardy in big stilt boots, music makes him seem scary as shit.
Yeah.
You know, so like whenever it comes to Zimmer, it's so hard not to talk about. But like Inception is obviously that changed everybody's brain chemistry. Your mom
loves Inception's theme.
It's
or score.
Amazing. Yeah, but you know, specifically, it's the percussion. And oh my god, I can't believe I didn't bring it up. We were talking about DC earlier. I'm sorry. This is one of the biggest ones I can name for film scores for me.
Uh-huh.
If we're talking top 5, this is easily in that top 5. Man of Steel.
Okay.
Has some of the best not even otherworldly as in like they used weird instruments and stuff. Using instruments that we have and just doing such different things. Like one of my favorite facts about the Man of Steel score, for no reason, he got like 18 drummers, 18 like drum kits. I don't know how many there was. There's probably like 10, but I'm exaggerating. Yeah. All in one big church hall with this massive amount of reverberation, whatever, and had them all play the exact same thing at the same time and had them all mic'd up.
Yeah.
And it like Pharrell Williams was one of them. John Bonham's son, Jason Bonham, was one of the drummers.
Hell yeah.
And they all played the same thing together. So like the percussion in that is
top notch.
Out of this world.
Yeah.
The strings in that score alone are amazing. Batman v Superman, like Lex Luthor's theme, just big. It sounds like someone took a hammer onto a piano. Love his theme. Yeah. And specifically the Beautiful Lies, the intro to BVS, you know, where you get to see Bruce having a nightmare about when his parents got shot. We get to see his parents get shot for like the 15th time. The music is amazing. It's so good that Hans Zimmer, again, for whatever reason, in Wonder Woman 84, he might have been feeling a little bit lazy. He brought that score back.
Yeah.
Again, for whatever reason, and it's just a beautiful piece of music.
Yeah. You saying drummers reminded me of a movie, and then it reminded me of a director who has 3 movies with fantastic scores.
Is that right?
And that's Damien Chazelle.
Oh my god.
Whiplash, La La Land, and Babylon.
Justin Hurwitz, whatever. He did all of those movies with Chazelle.
Dude.
Babylon,
Whiplash, we all know. Babylon, snubbed. And me and Sebastian's theme in La La Land, dude. I want Rosie to walk down the aisle to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much I love that song.
She should.
Dude.
La La Land is the first, like record vinyl.
Yeah.
For a film score that I ever got. It was La La Land was the first one. Dude. So and then the second one.
I remember you pushed so hard for me to watch that. I was like, I'm not a musical guy. And I watched it and I immediately restarted it after watching it. Same with Whiplash.
Oh yeah.
Both of those movies I watched twice the first time I watched them.
That's fair. Babylon's a different animal. I could not watch that movie twice in a row.
Still a great movie,
but
though.
that's because that movie is emotionally exhausting.
Yeah, super underrated. Score's fantastic. Remember when we were on our way to Chicago?
On our way to Chicago.
We're driving to Chicago, and at the same exact time, not even talking about Babylon.
Yeah. We were talking about anything else. It's dead silence.
It was dead silence, and we just go bam 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 bam.
No, not even. We did the ba na 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 ba na 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 same time.
And my mom was like, "What the hell?"
She's like, "You guys are weird."
She was like, "You guys need to be on a podcast."
We're here. Yeah. I mean, it's. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't bring it up. And First Man. First Man. I haven't even seen First Man, and I listen to that score all the time.
Is that his first movie?
I believe it's his first like major movie because that's the one that has like Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one.
It has a great score.
But the 3 Chazelle movies I've seen, all 3 of them, fantastic scores.
Oh my god! Obviously, Chazelle has like a very close yeah. Well, yes. Yeah, and he obviously has a close connection with music somewhere in there. I believe him and Justin, they both went to college together, I think. Okay. So that started back then.
Whiplash and La La Land are music movies, so
it would be
both
ridiculous
movies.
If they weren't good. Yeah.
Babylon, more about Hollywood, but music's heavily present, and I love all 3 of those scores.
A lot of music, like biopic movies and stuff, have like Elvis had a really good score.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's not super uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just movies are good.
What a day.
Movies are good sometimes. What a day. This is the thing I've been waiting on.
Yeah.
This is like the the 20, how old am I? 23-year-old nut that I've been holding on to for the longest time. I'm finally getting released onto all of you. I'm just kidding.
You're all my children now.
You can cut that if you have to. But yeah, it's just music for film is just everything to me.
Yeah.
And like the connection I have to it is so I love it because it is weird.
Yeah.
But it's not weird because it's stupid. It's just weird because it's just not something someone pays attention to. You're not really meant to pay attention to it, kind of, in a way. But I just can't help. Like, every movie, I'm always Shazamming.
For sure.
I always
catch you.
Shazamming.
For sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I am going to throw one last DC one on there because it doesn't get talked about enough. I know The Flash isn't great. May not even be good.
Yeah. It's
not for me to say. I like it. But Benjamin Wallfish is amazing.
Yeah.
He's Blade Runner 2049. World War Z, I think he also worked on that. But specifically The Flash. His score for The Flash is amazing. Yeah. And it's the best part about the movie, honestly. Man.
Yeah. That or Michael Keaton being back. But...
Oh, yeah, that too.
But that'll do it for National Film Score Day. Kory, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Wasn't going to be anybody else.
Lisa and I got
you. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, check out some other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. Leave in the comments, what is your favorite film score?
I'd love to. I'll read those comments. I don't read comments, but I'll read those comments.
Let us know. But we'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.